Today's video is dedicated to all the tennis parents that watch my content, and I want to answer a very interesting question that gets brought up all the time when I talk to tennis parents, when I also talk to other tennis coaches, and that is the question whether tennis academies are a scam. And what do I mean by scam? Well, basically, are these tennis academies being dishonest? Are they promising things like a pro career or a Division I scholarship to students when they know that these students have absolutely no chance of achieving these things, and they take their parents' money when they exactly know that there's no chance in a million years that some of these students are going to be able to achieve these things, and they promise these things to the parents anyway. That would be dishonest, and you could call that a scam. Now, there's absolutely no way for me to know whether tennis academies do this or not. I tend to believe that everybody is in the business of coaching tennis with honest intentions. I know I am very honest with all my students. I tell them exactly how it is, but I also understand that sometimes honesty can lead to less income. It can lead to people taking less lessons and playing tennis a lot less. So often when I'm honest, it goes against my best interest, but I don't care, because I'm in this game for the right reasons. I don't care about the money. I have enough students where me being honest is not really going to hurt my income that much. So again, it's absolutely impossible for me to know whether tennis academies are operating honestly or not. I'm sure there's some who are dishonest with their clients, but I'm also sure that the vast majority of the tennis academies are operating in the most honest way. But before we get into my opinion on tennis academies, and I used to have a tennis academy myself, so I can speak from experience, I want to first explain to all you guys that are beginners who are watching my channel who might not know what a tennis academy is. So basically, Nick Bollettieri was the first one who created a tennis academy in Florida. And what a tennis academy is, it's designed to bring the best juniors, maybe of the nation or internationally, to one place where they can train with each other, and they also happen to live there on campus, and it's an environment created to give these players the best chance of advancing in the game of tennis, and they also will do their schooling at the academy. That's basically what a tennis academy is. Now, there's different versions of it. Actually, the vast majority of tennis academies don't provide housing. So it will be an academy where local kids from that area will come maybe in the mornings if they're homeschooled, or in the afternoons, and train there. And the best academies in the world, you guys all know what those are. I don't need to mention them here. They usually have the whole package, and they also tend to attract the absolute best juniors in the world. So I'm going to tell you one story that's going to explain the negative aspect of a tennis academy. And there was these two junior players who have moved to the United States from Brazil, and they went to a very famous academy. And after 2 years of that academy, where their entire family moved there, they even bought a house there, they had enough, because the dad saw that the kids just weren't improving. And what they did was they moved to a different part of the state, and they started taking lessons with me. And to my shock, when I started training these boys, they were serving with a forehand grip. And they had many other catastrophic technical flaws that weren't corrected in 2 years at this very famous academy. So you ask yourself, how is this possible? Well, it's very common, actually, because you gotta think of it this way. The tennis academy doesn't necessarily make their money from the best players, but they need to attract the absolute best players so they can use those players for marketing to attract other players to come there. So it's all about having as many players as possible. Now, most of the players at an academy are actually going to be either intermediate level, and some will actually be low level. So it's just perfectly understandable that an intermediate level junior player is not going to get to practice with a high level junior player or an elite level junior player. They are probably going to be put in groups where they're going to practice with each other, and that is also true for the low level junior players. They are not going to get to play against the intermediates. They're going to be stuck in their low level group. Now, for you guys that don't know, I completely stopped giving group lessons. I only do one-on-one private coaching. Why? Because it's the only way to make technical adjustments on the strokes. When there's 4 people or more on the court, it becomes very difficult to give each person enough individual attention so that strokes can improve. For that reason, I stopped giving group lessons. I only do private lessons, because this is where my work can be the most valuable. I see the best results when I work with someone one-on-one. And the same is true at an academy. If you have a lot of kids on the court, it's going to be very difficult for the coach to make technical adjustments. Having said that, even within a group setting, fundamental technical adjustments need to be made. So what happens sometimes is that the coaching staff that will teach the low level or the intermediate type of junior players at an academy is, let's face it, unqualified and low paid. They don't get paid a lot, and these are not going to be high quality coaches who are going to be teaching these beginner level kids or intermediate level kids, even at very famous academies. Now, is this true for every academy? Of course not. I don't want to sit here and generalize and saying this is true for every academy. I'm sure there's a lot of academies out there where they have a very qualified staff across all levels. I've seen it here in Southeast Florida. There's some great academies down here, but it is undeniable fact that everybody knows that some academies where you have tons of students, that some of the coaching staff, especially for the low level students, is not very good, and they're also low paid. So it's understandable that these two boys came here with the promise of achieving a Division I scholarship or a professional career, and after 2 years of hard training, they still had catastrophic fundamental flaws on their strokes. So you're probably thinking now this video is going to be all about slamming tennis academies, and it's absolutely not, because tennis academies are necessary in developing professional level players. And before I explain why this is the case, I want to tell you a little story about myself. So I was a high level junior player in Germany. I was ranked in the top 20, number 17 in the nation. I was at a good level. And when I was 16, I had my best year. I had won 3 tournaments in a row. And my dad knew Nicky Pilic. For you guys that don't know, Nicky Pilic is one of the most famous coaches in the world. He was a Davis Cup champion with 3 different countries, Germany, Croatia, and Serbia. Also was a player who was ranked as high as number 4 in the world and was a finalist at the French Open. Now, he's from the town of Split, and I am from the town of Split as well, and my dad knew him. So he had a connection with Nicky Pilic, and he was able to arrange so that I go to the Nicky Pilic Academy in Munich. And guess who was at the Nicky Pilic Academy in Munich? Novak Djokovic. Of course, not at the time where I would have gone there. Djokovic is a lot younger than me, but I had a chance to go to the Nicky Pilic Tennis Academy, and I refused to go because I was a little bit of a mama's boy, okay? And I didn't want to go to Munich because that was 8 hours away. And I decided against it, and I stayed in this small town in Germany where I continued to train. I can tell you that that was one of the biggest mistakes that I ever did. Why? Because I was not only the best player in my club, but I was one of the best players in the entire county, and I was among the best players in the whole state where I was living. So the fact that I stayed at this club halted my improvement. If I would have gone in Munich, I would have played with players who were much better than me, not only from Germany, but from all across Europe, and naturally my level would have gone up with better competition. So the great thing about tennis academies is that you get a lot of high level or elite level junior players at one place. And let's say you're a tennis parent and your kid is dominating the area where you live. There's absolutely nobody else for you to play against because your kid is destroying everyone. Well, it's going to be unbelievably helpful if you go to an academy where the level is high enough where your kid gets challenged and gets to face better competition on a daily basis. And that is exactly what happened at Bollettieri. He had the best of the best from all over the world. You had Agassi, Courier, Monica Seles, and the list goes on. And all these players were pushing each other at the academy, and they maximized their potential for that reason. And possibly the most valuable aspect of training at a tennis academy is the mindset that the players and the coaches have at the academy. Now let me explain that in a little more detail. When I grew up in Germany playing junior tennis, I only had one goal in mind, and that was to play professional tennis. I didn't really have any backup plan. I didn't plan to go to college or to do anything else except tennis. I wanted to be a professional player. However, many of the juniors that I was training with who were at my level didn't have those same goals. They possibly knew that the chances of making it on a professional tour are like winning the lottery. And these friends of mine had goals to go to college, to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, businessmen, and they had absolutely no interest in pursuing a professional career. And that is a very important value of going to a tennis academy, because When you don't have players in your local area around that have the same goals as you feel as if you're doing something wrong. You don't feel that you have a sense of purpose. And when you go to an academy, you're going to have players there and coaches who are going to be fully supporting you with your goal because they have the same goals in mind. The coaches wholeheartedly want you to make it on the professional tour, and the other players who are at the academy share the same goals as you, and you feel a sense of purpose because of that reason. So it's incredibly important for a junior player who wants to get a Division I scholarship or even pursue a professional career to be surrounded with other players who have the same goals, but also have a coaching staff that fully supports the goals that the players have. But here's the problem that a lot of parents run into. They will send their kids off to an academy when the kids are at, let's say, beginner level, very low level, or even at the intermediate level, and they expect that the academy will transform their kids into Division I players or even professional players. And one thing you have to understand about tennis academies is that when you see elite level players at an academy or high level players, is that these players didn't get developed at the academy. They follow the right steps in tennis. They start playing locally at their club, and they train a tremendous amount with the local coaches or sometimes their parents, and they get to a certain level, and then they keep advancing so that naturally they seek out an academy because they don't have a lot of competition in the area that they're at. So in the vast majority of the cases, when you see an elite level player at an academy or a high level player, those players were developed prior to going to an academy. And listen, I'm well aware that academies will take credit for these players, and they deserve some of the credit. As I mentioned earlier, academies are absolutely essential when it comes to building professional players. But fact is that rarely players get developed from scratch at an academy. I'm sure it happens sometimes, but all the players that you know that went to academy, all the elite superstar players that were at famous academies, they were all developed prior to going to an academy. So if you're a tennis parent ready to send your kid off to an academy expecting a Division I scholarship or a professional career, you got to realize that if your kid is at a low level, if your kid is at an intermediate level, even if there's plenty of competition at your local club, it makes absolutely no sense to go to an academy. When the time comes where your kid is destroying everyone in your area, you might have to seek out an academy where you're going to get higher competition and your kid is going to improve their tennis tremendously because of that. If you have the expectations of sending your kids off and expecting the academy to develop your kids from scratch, that often never happens.